the palace does not usually speak in headlines. It speaks in silence, in closed doors, and in who suddenly stops being invited. And right now, there is one word being whispered with unusual venom inside royal circles, a word so harsh that even seasoned observers have been stunned to hear it repeated again and again. That word is revolting. Not embarrassing, not unfortunate, revolting. And it is now being attached directly to Sarah Ferguson, the Duchess of York, as newly resurfaced Epstein-linked documents reignite one of the darkest controversies to ever brush the House of Windsor. This is not simply another round of tabloid noise. This is a developing storm powered by written records, private correspondence, and the kind of paper trail that does not fade with time. For decades, Sarah Ferguson has occupied a strange and unpredictable space in Britain's royal story. She was once the warm, unconventional duchess who made the monarchy feel human. Then she became the symbol of royal scandal, debt, and survival, repeatedly falling and repeatedly returning. And through it all, she managed to hold on to something valuable, a thin thread of royal tolerance. She was never fully welcomed back, but she was never fully cut off either, until now. Because what is emerging from the Epstein archive is forcing royal insiders and the public alike to confront a question that is far more serious than social misjudgment. Was Sarah Ferguson merely a naive bystander caught in Epstein's orbit, or was she something far more calculated? A woman who knowingly used proximity to power and privilege to protect herself financially, regardless of the cost? The outrage has exploded following the unsealing of fresh documents connected to the late disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein. These papers do not simply mention Sarah's name. They reportedly provide a detailed view into the frequency, warmth, and intimacy of her communications with Epstein, suggesting a relationship far closer than she has ever publicly admitted. For years, Sarah Ferguson attempted to distance herself from the scandal, offering emotional explanations and insisting she was simply trying to support her former husband, Prince Andrew. But the new records tell a different story, a story of informal chatter, comfortable familiarity, and an unsettling lack of boundaries that should have protected her family from association with a convicted predator. And perhaps the most disturbing aspect of these revelations involves Sarah's daughters, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie. Analysts examining the wider context argue that these young women, who were teenagers at the height of their parents' connection to Epstein, were placed far too close to a dangerous world. There are no allegations against Beatrice or Eugenie, and that must be stated clearly. But experts argue that Sarah Ferguson failed in her most basic duty as a mother, protecting her children from the influence and proximity of a man already convicted of sexual crimes. Instead, there are now growing accusations that she brought her daughters into Epstein-adjacent settings, perhaps as a form of social shield, perhaps to normalize his presence, or perhaps to maintain a lifestyle that her own finances could no longer sustain without outside support. Archival images from that period show a glamorous surface, the Duchess and her daughters appearing at luxury resorts, living a life of ease and privilege. But critics now argue that behind those photographs was something far darker, a normalization of association that should have been unthinkable. Beatrice and Eugenie were around 17 and younger at the time, vulnerable ages when parental judgment is everything. Instead of being protected from the moral decay of Epstein's world, they were exposed to it, and that exposure now casts a shadow over their adult lives, dragging them into renewed public scrutiny they did not create, yet cannot escape. Inside Buckingham Palace, the reaction has reportedly been cold, sharp, and final. King Charles III, determined to maintain a slimmed-down and morally defensible monarchy, is said to view Sarah Ferguson as a toxic liability. For years, there was quiet tolerance, even faint sympathy, for Sarah. While Prince Andrew's reputation was already beyond repair, Sarah was sometimes framed as the loyal ex-wife, the woman who stayed close out of devotion rather than ambition. But that hope appears to have collapsed. According to insiders, the palace no longer sees her as misguided. It sees her as uncontrollable, a loose cannon whose financial desperation repeatedly overrides her judgment. And that is why many royal observers now believe Sarah Ferguson is considered an even greater liability than Andrew himself. Andrew has been pushed into silence and seclusion. Sarah, however, has continued to seek visibility. Interviews, statements, emotional explanations, and constant attempts to reshape the narrative have repeatedly pulled the Epstein scandal back into the headlines at moments when the palace was desperate for it to die. Every time she speaks, the monarchy bleeds again. And now, with new documents entering the public sphere, the palace appears to have reached the point where cutting her off is no longer optional. It is necessary. Royal commentator Hilary Ford has delivered one of the most scathing assessments yet. She argues that these newly unsealed materials effectively eliminate any remaining possibility that Sarah Ferguson or Prince Andrew will ever be welcomed back into the royal fold. The contradiction between their public denials and the warmth contained in their private correspondence is, in Ford's view, impossible to defend. She notes that a person of high moral standards would never have maintained a relationship with Epstein after his conviction in 2008. Yet the emails reveal informal personal sharing, a tone that suggests comfort rather than caution, and a closeness that does not align with claims of distance. One particular detail has ignited outrage. In one email, Sarah reportedly explained that her trip to New York was not yet confirmed because she was waiting for Eugenie to return from her weekend. To mention a minor daughter so casually while coordinating plans with a convicted sex offender is, as Ford describes it, extremely questionable. It suggests that Sarah Ferguson did not view the relationship as dangerous, or worse, that she viewed it as useful enough to ignore the risks. It is not just a lapse in judgment, it is a collapse of parental responsibility. And then there is the financial element, the motive that many experts believe sits beneath everything. Sarah Ferguson's struggles with debt have been well documented for years. Her lifestyle consistently outpaced her income after divorce, resulting in repeated scandals. The most infamous was the cash for access incident, where she was caught offering to sell access to Prince Andrew. That moment alone painted a picture of a woman willing to trade royal proximity for financial relief. In that context, her connection to Epstein takes on a disturbing logic. Epstein may not have simply been a social acquaintance. He may have been a financial lifeline, and choosing to accept help or maintain contact after his conviction was not an accident. It was a repeated decision to prioritize money over morality. The tragedy is that Sarah Ferguson has spent years presenting herself as the loyal figure who stood by Andrew, the one person willing to support him when the world turned against him. Yet through her actions, she may have done the opposite. She may have become the force that ensured his downfall was permanent. By maintaining contact, leaving behind a paper trail, and keeping the Epstein Association alive through continued engagement, she has added new fuel to a scandal the palace desperately wanted buried. In trying to save Andrew, she may have helped destroy what little remained of his credibility. And now the fallout is spreading through the York family like poison. Sarah Ferguson's reputation has taken another devastating blow, and questions inevitably rise about what this means for her daughters. Beatrice and Eugenie have remained publicly loyal, but they are now young mothers trying to forge their own identities in a world that is increasingly unforgiving. The weight of their mother's past decisions must be immense. Even if they did nothing wrong, the association alone becomes a burden they cannot escape. The image that now defines Sarah Ferguson is no longer that of the quirky duchess who made mistakes and survived them. It is the image of a woman retreating behind tinted windows, shielding herself from cameras as royal doors quietly close. The tearful interviews, the apologies, the claims of ignorance, and the attempts to reframe her story no longer hold weight in the face of written records. A paper trail does not respond to emotion. It does not soften with time. It simply exists, permanent and unchanging. And the palace has always understood one thing above all else. The monarchy survives not by winning arguments, but by removing liabilities, by creating distance, by cutting oxygen. And according to royal insiders, that is exactly what is happening now. Invitations are drying up, support is vanishing, quiet inclusion at family gatherings appears to be ending. Sarah Ferguson is no longer being treated as a tolerated outsider. She is being treated as an unacceptable threat. The British public expects a standard from those connected to the sovereign. When that standard is not simply missed, but repeatedly violated, consequences are inevitable. Sarah Ferguson now stands at a crossroads where every path leading back to royal acceptance appears blocked. Whether she was a victim of her circumstances or a calculated participant is a question that will divide opinion. But what is increasingly clear is that the monarchy has already reached its conclusion. So the real question now is not whether Sarah Ferguson will recover her image. It is whether the York family can survive what comes next. because the Epstein files have a way of resurfacing. More documents may emerge, more context may appear, and the more the public record expands, the less room the monarchy has to pretend this was simply an unfortunate association. What are your thoughts on these developments? Do you believe Sarah Ferguson was manipulated? Or do you agree with experts who describe her actions as indefensible? And do you think King Charles is right to permanently exclude her from the royal circle? Or is the palace going too far? Leave your thoughts in the comments. If you found this analysis valuable, please subscribe for more royal news and deep investigations. Thank you for watching, and stay informed.